Hello and welcome. Today I am going to be doing a swing state analysis on the state of Michigan. But before we get started, please go and subscribe. We're currently at 307 subscribers. Let's hit 325 by the end of the month. So go and subscribe and let's get started. So, Michigan was one of the states that flipped to Donald Trump in 2016. This is the first time it went to a Republican in a very long time, since the Reagan-Bush time. It flipped to Donald Trump, and we'll see if it'll go to Trump in this scenario and a Biden scenario. Each map will look different in the way of how they will win. I have the 2016 election map and the 2018 midterm Senate map and the 2016 exit polls. So we're going to first look at some counties. We're going to look at Grand Rapids, southwestern part of Michigan first. So, Berrien County. It went to Donald Trump by about 13 points. In the Senate race, it went to James by about 9 points. So, Donald Trump will probably carry this in the likely margin in both scenarios, but he will have to do it in a bigger margin in his victory map. In Van Buren County, this one went also by about 14 points. In the midterms, it went by 8 points, so both counties showing a 3-point shift. So Trump will probably have to carry it around the same margin or slightly more than the previous election. But in the one against Biden, he will probably still win both these counties in the likely margin around the 6 to 10 point margin. Elgin County, let's see the shifts. This one was safe in 2012 and will probably be safe again in 2020. Going into county next. Kalamazoo County. This went to Hillary Clinton by about 13 points. In the midterms, it went to Stabenow by 17 points. It shifted slightly Republican. It was on the edge of being a safe margin. In a Biden scenario, he'll probably need this one in the safe margin, but in a Trump scenario, it'll probably be in a likely margin. Moving into Grand Rapids, or Kent County. This county shifted from 8 points to 3 points in 2018, flipping to Debbie Stabenow by half a point. This is a county that has been shifting towards the Democrats for a couple elections now. If Trump's going to win the state, he has to win Kent County. He cannot lose it. And if Biden is to win the state, he will need to win Kent County. Going into Muskegon County, it went to Hillary Clinton by about 1.5 points. It shifted drastically Republican from going from a safe margin in the Democratic column to a lean Democratic. And the midterms, it went to likely very narrowly. So if Trump's to win, this will probably need to be in the lean. Biden doesn't need to have this in the lean. In the likely. He could still win when it's in the lean, but it is a lot better if he is to be able to get that in the likely column. We're going to now move into near Ann Arbor, Detroit area. We're going to do the rest of the south part of Michigan. So, did we do? Yeah, we did Kalamazoo. Calhoun County. This one went 12 points to Donald Trump. In the midterms, it went by about 7 points to John James. Trump will need to carry this one in the likely column, and he probably will as well in a Biden scenario, but he when I'm putting in likely margin in both, it means that he will need to have a larger margin in a victory, but if a Biden victory, it's going to be a smaller margin. Likely is between 5 and under 15 points. That is a huge swing. In Lenawi County, it went by about 20 points to Trump. It shifted from a lean Republican to a safe Republican. And in the 2018 midterms, it went slightly into the likely column. So this one will probably stay safe and swing back in both scenarios. Going into Monroe County, this one was almost a 22-point victory. It shifted from a Democratic victory in 2012 by a lean margin to a safe Republican margin. That is a huge swing. In the midterms, it went 11 points to John James. This one will most likely go back in the safe column. In a Trump victory and in a Biden victory, it'll be probably in between likely and safe. I'm going to put it in the safe column. Now in Jackson County, this was a 20-point victory for Trump. It shifted towards Trump. It was a likely county in the previous election. In the midterms, it went 13 points to James. Not too much of a shift. It'll probably go back to the safe column in both cases. Going into, what county is that? Eden County. Went 4 points to Donald Trump. Went and flipped to Debbie Stabenow by 5 points. This county shifted from a lean Democratic to a lean Republican. In a Trump victory, this one will need to be in the lean. In a Biden victory, it will need to be in the lean Democratic column. In Ingham County, this went in the safe margin in probably both scenarios and will go safe. In Livingston County, this one went by 30 points to Donald Trump. Trended even further Republican from 2012 to 2016 and win the safe margin in 2018. So this county will stay in the safe column in both scenarios. Going into one of the most important counties, Oakland County. This county had over 600,000 votes. That is a huge margin out of about 4.5 million votes. That is like 1 in 8 voters are here. And this county went likely Hillary Clinton, but that was a close margin. It shifted slightly even more Republican from 2012 to 2016, but in the midterms, it slightly went back to the Democrats. In a Trump scenario, this county will need to not go lean, but 7 or 8 points at most into Biden's column. And in a Biden victory, this will need to go more than 8 points, probably at least 10 points at minimum. Now going into Macomb County, another very important area, another suburban area to Detroit. This flipped to Trump. It was a lean Democratic and went likely Republican. In the midterms, it was lean Democratic. In a Trump scenario, this county will need to go to him, probably in the likely margin for a victory in the state of Michigan. But in a Biden victory, this county will probably still go to Trump. It'll be narrower, maybe 2 to 3 points in a Biden victory. In Flint, this county went 10 points to Hillary Clinton. In 2018, it shifted 17 points to Debbie Stabenow. That's a 7-point shift. In a Trump victory, this will need to stay in the likely. In a Biden victory, it will probably be in the safe column. And Shiawassee County, it went 20 points to Trump, and in 2018, it went 10 points to John James. Needs to stay safe in a Trump scenario, and will go likely in a Biden scenario. In Clinton County, Trump won it by 13 points, and in 2018, it was a lean county. Both scenarios are going to be likely, but in the Trump victory, it's going to be a larger margin of victory. In a Biden victory, it'll be narrower. In another very important county, Saginaw County, this went 1.2 points to Trump. This was a huge shift from a likely Democratic to a lean Republican. In 2018, this county went to Debbie Stabenow by 4 points. This county in a Trump scenario will have to stay in his column. In a Biden scenario, Biden will have to win this county. In Grayett County, it went 25 points to Trump, and in 2018, it went 17 points to James. It'll be safe in both scenarios, but, margins are different. In Bay County, this went 13 points to Trump. Huge shift from a lean Democratic to a likely Republican. In 2018, it stayed with the Republican John James. So that means in both scenarios, it will stay Republican, but in the Trump victory, it'll go likely, and in a Biden victory, it'll go lean. Midland County, very strongly in the Republican column. In both scenarios, going to stay safe. Isabella County, 4 points to Trump. In 2018, it flipped. 3 points to Debbie Stabenow. In a Trump victory, Trump will have to win this. In a Biden victory, Biden will need to win it. Acosta County went 16 points to James and over 20 points to Trump. Both will stay safe. All of these counties here are most likely to stay in the safe column. They were a little narrower in 2018, but they will go back in the safe column in both scenarios. That is a county I forgot to fill in here. Right? Yeah. Okay. We gotta go there now, which is actually safe. I missed that one too. Okay, we're moving into northern Michigan. Okay, both sides are filled. We're gonna start off on the mainland part. Manistee County went barely in the safe column for Trump. Huge shift, previously a Democratic county, and stayed likely in the 2018 midterms. More narrow though. So in both scenarios, it'll probably be likely. This time around, Trump can get it in the safe column. Depends on turnout. In Grant Travis County, with 12 points to Trump, shifted slightly Republican, and stayed likely in 2018. Both scenarios will be likely. Benzie County went 14 points to Trump and went 6 points to John James. Both scenarios likely. In Leelanau County, this went by 1.5 points to Trump, shifted to the Democrats by, 4 points, and flipped in 2018, and giving Debbie Stabenow a 3-point victory there. And a Trump victory, this will probably go to Biden. This is one of the counties that will most likely flip. Roscoe County and Wasco County both are most likely to stay safe in both scenarios. Same with Albany and Presque. Let's see. Is there any difference really? Those will all go safe too. In both scenarios, in a Biden victory and a Trump victory. Now moving off into the other part of Michigan, the northern area. All these counties voting relatively safe. If there's any really big pattern that's really different, they're just narrower. These will all stay safe. Marquette County went 4 points to Hillary Clinton, went 15 points to Stabenow. Probably going to go likely in both scenarios. Iron County. Let's see. Is there any difference that I would change on the maps? No. So all of these will go in the safe column as well for Trump in a Biden and Trump victory scenario. Gogbic County went safe to Trump, flipped to Stabenow in the lean column. That's a huge shift. Went Democratic previously and flipped. Also, it was lower turnout. But in a Trump victory, this will probably be likely. In a Biden victory, it'll probably sway back to Trump. But in the lean column, Hudson County went also safe, and in the other scenario, it went likely. So it'll be safe in a Trump victory, but likely in a Biden victory. Now, in the last final county, Keweenaw County went 20 points to Trump, and it went 8 points to John James. Will be safe in a Trump victory and likely in a Biden victory. So these are the two different maps. This is a Trump victory. This is a Biden victory. There's 4 counties that really change in both, which is, let's see, I know Kent, Saginaw, and is that Isabel County, and Eden County. Those are the 4 pivot counties. Now we're going to look at the exit polls on who needs to win what to win the state. So for Trump to win, he will probably lose a little bit of female support, but he will have to make that up with more male support. If Biden is to win the state, he will need to energize the younger base. The 30 to 44 age group actually went lean Trump, so Biden will need to close the gap and at least tie. With white voters, Biden will also need to close the gap and energize more African Americans to turn out to vote this time around. Biden will also need to win college grads, and if that is to happen, Trump will need to reinforce that with the high school or less, and the some college he will at least need to tie. In the income, Biden will need to get the middle class on his side. Last time it went likely in both $30,000 to $100,000 income to Donald Trump. The only big lead was in the under $30,000, which Biden will need to hold that margin or improve it if he is to win. Party ID, Biden needs to expand the independent base, and Trump will need to hold his margin if he's to win the state. Among religion, Biden will have to energize probably the Catholic vote on his side. He probably will close this margin a little bit, but it depends on who wins the state. The biggest issue is the economy last time around, and it's probably going to be this time around too for Michigan, following probably COVID-19 and then the probably social unrest. So Biden will really need to play out with the economy or get enough people on his side with how to deal with COVID-19 and the current social unrest. Also, another thing, Trump will need to more display what he's done with trade, USMCA, China, Korea, Japan, and Biden will have to be able to attract people who are these factory workers and believe that trade, a lot of trade deals were bad in how they were. Biden will really have to hit back on the NAFTA, which he supported the first time around, and that's going to be not too good for him. He'll have to somehow get around that and come up with some new idea, I think, for people to like him again in that way. But we'll see what happens. Michigan was interesting last time around. I think it's favoring Biden this time around. I don't really see any other. Oh, here. Local job market compared to. No. I don't really see any other very important area that each one will need to improve on and work on. But this is a Trump victory and what the map would look like. This is a Biden victory, what the map would look like. We have 4 pivot counties. Thank you for watching. Please go like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Bye.